boys already, and now we're Lizzie, and then they went. 1, 2, 3, 4. Already, and now we're Lizzie, and then they went. 1, 2, 3, 4. Already, and now we're Lizzie, and then they went. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, hello, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and around the world. I am Steve Houk, and welcome to another episode of Living on Music. And behind me, you do see Emily Dwan's gorgeous rendition, and I'll step aside right here, and you can see the stage at Red Rocks out in Colorado, which we just went out to not long ago for a trip to see family across the United States, and that's a whole show I should do. But wanted to welcome everybody again. I hope everybody is doing well. Music is the way we soothe our souls and enrich our souls, and so that's why we're here tonight. And boy, do I have a guest for you tonight. I have had some of the most incredible musicians that this area has ever seen on through the last 25, 26 shows, the last 5 months here at Living on Music. And tonight is one incredible lady, and her name is Marlain Angelides, and she is the lead singer of Lez Zeppelin, as well as a internationally known singer, actress, voice artist, and we take you on a ride tonight. It is a long ride, but it is a wonderful ride. If you want to experience somebody's musical career, and somebody's zest for life, and the way that they go and find what they want to do, and they experience other things, and they figure out where their heart is. It's an incredible ride, and we're going to do that for you in a minute or so. What I do at the beginning of every show, and what I'm going to do until this show is until we don't need to do it anymore, and hopefully that will be relatively soon, is talk about NIVA. It's the National Independent Venue Association. There you go, right here. There is that URL. It's NIVA-SSOC.org. This is a organization that is trying their best, and that, boy, are they giving incredible efforts to try to save venues across the United States. And it's hashtag Save Our Stages. So you go to NIVA, I've said this. It might be redundant to some of our viewers. We're getting a lot of people coming back to watch the show, but they're, they understand this. We had a club, a Union Jacks in Annapolis, just closed permanently, largely. There are other clubs in Pittsburgh, right around here in Charlotte, that have closed. This is important, people. Go on NIVA. Go to Save Our Stages. All you got to do is put your name and email in, and you can really join the fight to try to get federal funding for venues across this area. There are so many venues that I play in and that I go to see bands in. So please, you do it too. It's what we need to do. Found an incredible site the other day. I don't know how many people have come across it. It's called Songkick, and Songkick is a website that basically gives you an opportunity to not only go and find band concerts, and they have a bunch booked coming up next year. They already have Green Day at Nationals Park. They've got, of all people, Justin Bieber at the Capitol Arena. They've got some amazing rock and roll shows, but they allow bands to go in and put in their gigs and put in where they're playing. It's another avenue, guys, for bands and other acts to be able to put themselves out there right now. And they have a whole live streaming aspect to Songkick. So go find it. Go check it out. It's songkick.com. And it's really something that I think could be really instrumental for a lot of people to kind of continue their run here. What I try to do every week now is say thank you. Thank you to all of my amazing guests that I have had on the show that have made a dream come true for me. I've been a television producer for 37 years, had an amazing run. It's been a great career, up, down, sideways, and wonderful. But to be able to do a music interview show finally, I did one at Voice of America for a year or two, but this is with you, and it's with Alexandria and Washington and Northern Virginia, Maryland, everywhere, and across the United States to be able to bring you this kind of music. So thank you to my amazing guests on this show. I've just had the swath of people that I've had from this area are all of my heroes, people that I love, that I've played with, that I've sung with, people that I've admired. I'm going to name a couple of them tonight, and I want to give them a shout out because they got things going on. That's why we're here. We're here to give musicians a chance to get out and engage and continue to get the word out about what they're doing and stuff like that. And what I'd like to do is first plug Dave Chappell and Patty Reese. They're going to be playing the Bowie Grill, and that is this Friday from 5 to 8 o'clock. I mean, come on, Patty Reese and Dave Chappell in the same room. These guys know each other so well. They're kind of gelled when they play, and they've both been on my show, and they've both been sports. I remember Dave was a little leery about coming on a virtual show and doing something like this, and that's fine. He's not alone, and we did it, and I think he had a blast. Patty Reese and I had such a wonderful conversation. I love Patty, but she did it on her phone, and her phone fell over while we were doing the show. It's the virtual world, folks, but these guys are going to be out in person at the Bowie Grill. Another plug I'd like to do is for Soul Roots. Soul Roots is going to be on my show right here in 1 week from tonight. Boy, am I excited. This guy has got it all. He goes across all these different platforms of music: funk, blues, jazzy, rock. It's some amazing stuff. In fact, I think I warmed him up when I was playing at JV's once with my duo, and I came out and I think there was Soul Roots, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But Soul is playing JV's, which is one of my favorite venues on earth. I play there all the time and love that place. Lorraine Campbell is one of my dearest friends, and I love Lorraine, and she has opened this place up to very limited attendance, and that's tough for these guys. They want to fill it up. But what they got to do is they got to be careful, and that's the key right now. So you can go see Soul and Jimmy Cole and Josh Allen. I mean, in one thing. You know what? It's tonight though. So we're like whipping around with gigs, but it's tonight at 7 to 9:30. So watch the show here with Marlain, and then maybe if you're close to Falls Church, jump in the car and go down with your mask and watch some live music for a little while. These guys are incredible. Another guest that I had a while back, that David McClure, my amazing executive producer, and Siobhan and I were able to create her background. And it was really her. She set up in front of a lake, and it was so beautiful where we did this live show. Go again to Zebra, Good News Zebras on Facebook, and you'll be able to find the show if you go to videos. And we did an incredible show with Siobhan. She, was having a tough time. She came out with a new record. She wasn't able to tour, wanted to be able to market the heck out of this thing. And she was having a little bit of a tough time. She's an amazing woman. We had her on. I think we gave her a little bit of a boost, hopefully. And she has kind of done these amazing things going forward with songs and recording with people like Andy Rutherford and John Carroll and all these amazing people. She's done a song which is accompanied by a piece of art by her niece. And it is beautiful. And, you look at it and the song that she wrote is called Mumbo Jumbo, blah, blah, blah. And it's about what's going on now. Can we get together with all this stuff going on? Is everything going to be okay? It's a wonderful piece of art and music. And I love this picture right here. It is so, it is just so wonderful to see her. You can see everybody kind of talking. There's people debating. There's queens, kings. I love the woman with the mic and the afro. I mean, beautiful job on that. We're going to play a little snippet, kind of a tease snippet of Siobhan's song, Mumbo Jumbo, blah, blah, blah. What I'd like you to do is go to her website, Siobhan O'Brien, and it's CSIOBHAN O'Brien. But go find her. She's an incredible musician, really, really shining. Has a new record that we talked about when she came and was on the show. But we're gonna before we go to Marlain Angelides, which you guys are not going to believe the hour that you're about to see. It was just a wonderful discussion about life and music and stuff. We're going to show a little bit of Siobhan and her mumbo jumbo, blah, blah, blah. Again, support local music, support local venues where you can. It's still tough to go out right now. So, be safe and well. But remember, we're going to be out of this, and you got to support these guys because it's all going to come back someday, you guys. You know it is. All right. Here's Siobhan, and then we're going to talk to Marlain Angelides.
Killing a future, and it isn't even here. Create me, I said, don't break me. Teach me, don't corrupt me, just teach me. Infiltrate their minds, catch them when they're young. Control them, you've taken us off the land. But it's alright, cause we'll get jobs in packaging. Mumbo jumbo and blah blah blah. You think that we think that means something. You're all the same to us. Blah blah blah.
Well, as you can see behind me in my virtual venue that I do every week, I have the Ancient Theater of Epidavros, which is located in the Greek city of Epidavros, which has a direct link to my guest this evening. And you will find out a little bit more why that is as we go along. But take a gander at this gorgeous place, and we'll talk about the heritage a little later. About 6 or 8 months ago, I had the fortunate opportunity to see my guest tonight perform for the first time that I'd seen her in her current role as lead singer for the incredible band Lez Zeppelin. They are the all-female tribute experience to Led Zeppelin worldwide, play around the world. In fact, I've had my guest's bandmate Steph Paynes on this show. She was on one of my early shows a couple of months ago, and we had such a great time. But right away with the first song of that show, and it was Physical Graffiti, the Led Zeppelin record that they played, I knew that my guest would be a force to be reckoned with that band. And it's not an easy role, reproducing some of the music of one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, including the lead singer, Robert Plant, one of my rock heroes, that our guest sings his songs. So it was an incredible experience. And we'll talk about what the band has been doing during this pandemic. What I didn't know was the depth and the breadth and the scope and the wow of my guest's career up to now in her life. I mean, we could talk for hours about what she has achieved, the wide swath of creative experiences she has done, the different areas and genres and places that she has found herself in and done such incredible work. It's truly spectacular. But before I introduce her, though, here's a swath. Postgraduate work at Royal Academy of Music, Shakespeare trained, has done theater in the West End of London, has appeared on Pop Stars, which is the American Idol precursor in Europe. She has sang with a platinum-selling all-female band called High Five in Greece. She has represented Cyprus at the Eurovision Song Contest. Do you want me to continue? I will. She's a prolific voiceover actress and has done some incredible work dubbing over Disney films and becoming that voice for a lot of those films in terms of the translations. She has done incredible work in New York City, theater, some amazing shows that we're going to talk about, some of that of her life. She has won awards like the Best Song in International Performance at the Pan Festival in Serbia. She also fronts a UK prog metal project that we will talk about. I mean, can you believe that? And a BS in biochemistry with management. So that is an extra little a little check on her career. What a huge thrill and an excitement it is to have somebody that I've loved seeing play with Led Zeppelin and also learned about her career for so long. Welcome to Living on Music, Marlain Angelides. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Hello.
Oh, how are you doing? It is so nice to see you. We've been talking a lot, getting prepped for this show, and it is just so wonderful to finally see you in person almost. We're all trying to find people in person. Marlain, tell me a little bit about, I know that you've been playing a little with Led Zeppelin in this pandemic, but tell me how you're doing with dealing with this kind of very, very unique time right now as just Marlain.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for all your kind words, Steve. It was very flattering to me to hear that.
Easy to do.
Thank you. So, at first I think it was a shock, much like it was to everybody else. The sort of reality hadn't really set in. We were actually on a gig when we found out the next gig was canceled. So that was March 12th, I remember. It was in Natick. And I was like, okay, no more shows for a while. They're like, oh, it's going to be over pretty soon. And as we know, New York went into lockdown. And the first thing that we did as sort of Lez Zeppelin was we started to think about what we could do and put together these quarantine videos that I think you're going to show at some point.
Right, we will.
Of a few songs. We had to work it out how to perform separately in 4 different locations. People sometimes get confused and they're like, why don't you play live? But you can't play live with the streaming capabilities at this time. In 4 different places. You can play live if you're all in one place streaming out. So we're yet to do that. We're hoping that might happen soon. But then also, after a few months of that, we did actually get to play live in August 29th in Colorado. And then we also played on the 12th now, just about 10 days ago. In Maine, and it was such a strange feeling to go back into it. We hadn't played for a while, to sort of feel each other out first, and then to see everybody spread out in this weird format with these masks on their face. It was very surreal. And, I'm a little concerned that everybody kind of forgot about being separated and everyone came to the front by the end of the show.
Sure.
But I want to believe that things will pass, things will get better. This is just a blip in time and history, and the human body is resilient, and we will come through this.
We will, and and we're definitely going to jump into some of the Led Zeppelin quarantine. What did you call it? Quarantine. I love that. But we will definitely be jumping into some of that because there are some really sweet moments in those. You just went through a little bit of a medical issue, had your appendix out. Now that is a little bit of an addition to this. I mean, how did that come about? Do you feel better?
Yes, I feel better. Well, actually, it's a bit of a long ass story. It actually started on July 4th. Would you believe it?
Wow.
I was feeling this pain for 5 days, and honestly I thought it was gas pain. How embarrassing. Ended up going to urgent care. They told me I had to go into hospital, and they kept me in for 2 days on antivirals. They told me that my appendix was swollen and angry, and they cannot actually perform surgery on it. So I had to wait 6 to 8 weeks anyway after And then I wanted to do the Led Zeppelin shows, so I did those and then had booked my surgery right after. So it's been sort of 8 days since the surgery, eight or nine now, and I feel much better. As you can see, I'm moving. Because
yeah, you wouldn't know from here that you'd had surgery a week ago. You look beautiful and the same as you always do. But what an amazing experience, a positive experience of this kind of time to yourself was getting to know yourself even a little bit more in this vein of singing. And you have an EP that has been in production along with an Indiegogo support of your fans. What a wonderful thing to have happen all around for you.
Right. Well, so yes, that kind of brings back to what happened during quarantine, because I felt a little helpless, a little bit, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? Everyone had their own psychological sort of reaction to this thing. And I realized that I absolutely needed to do something creative. I had these songs from before. I'd never worked on them as a solo artist before. I've never really seen myself as a solo artist. I've always been a band person. And I started thinking, is this possible? Could I work on these by myself with a producer, of course, obviously not by myself, but just as a sort of solo project. And that is how this kind of became a decision to actually do an EP, actually do a crowdfunding campaign, actually ask people to support me in this endeavor, which actually turned out wonderfully. So yeah, I'm doing an EP. I'm not sure when it's going to be released yet, sometime next year. Hopefully, I'm currently working on the songs. I have about 2 that are sort of, we're going to be recording vocals this weekend, actually. And then I have another 2 songs that are sort of in arrangement production at the moment. And I actually had more, and I was hoping that if I actually got more money and during the crowdfunding campaign, I would make it an album. But that didn't happen. An EP, though, is wonderful still. And in fact, probably better at this time to do an EP than to do a whole album.
Right. And you had some wonderful parts of the Indiegogo, which were perks that you were offering for people and Greek dinners and all these things. Yeah. I'm like, what a lucky bunch of fans. They're going to have any more time with you than they could get. That is spectacular. You just had somebody do a Greek dinner, right? Didn't you mention that?
Yes, I have that. I have that in there, and some people have selected that. I had things like voice lessons and actually getting a voiceover from me directly. If there were any kind of video makers out there that wanted a voiceover, I would do that as part of a perk. Besides all the standard things of a download, a poster, a CD.
We will be pushing Indiegogo big time for you and keep this going. I just love the whole thing. We're going to show a minute of kind of your world during EP production, and also a fascinating video, part of a video that you did to kind of give a sense of your mindset during this time. Here's a little bit of Marlain and her EP run.
Courage slipping through my fingers. Gotta make sure this isn't all about me. I'm alone. Perfect is the lean bottom, lumps and bumps, the undesired. Fighting mind, time and gravity, women wanted, plastic required.
Where did some of that idea come from with the video part of it later? That is just wild stuff.
Oh, that's just so in my process, nowadays it's never just about the music. It's also about the persona that you create around the music. And it's been this sort of organic relationship with the sort of inner part of myself, trying to figure out what part needs to come out. And so I was experimenting with, you know, hair and makeup, and I was just like, you know, messing around in front of a green screen. Yeah, it was just like, let me do this. And I didn't actually have a purpose for the little videos I was making until I thought, I need to show a little bit of what I'm doing currently from my producer, David Laurie, by the way, and he's out in California. He's wonderful. He gave me a little rough mix of what we were doing on one of the songs. I thought, oh, let's put these together. It didn't come like pre-planned. It sort of fell into place.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating, and the Def Leppard shirt doesn't hurt either.
I know.
I loved every second of it. Well, we've got a lot to cover, and I'm going to jump headfirst right in now, because there are so many wonderful things to talk about with you, and about this swirling, magnificent career you have going, and past, present, and future. You were born in Greece. Talk a little bit about your early life as a little girl, and growing up in Greece, and then how it kind of evolved out of Greece to be almost a location. You started moving around a lot.
Yeah, that started from a young age. I mean, I was born in Greece. I was bilingual pretty fast because my dad is Greek, spoke fluent Greek. My mom is sort of half English, half Cypriot, but very English spoken. And I honestly don't remember much of Greece because I left when I was 5.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Venezuela. I was there for about 3 years. Then I moved to Belgium. I learned Spanish, which I have now forgotten, by the way. And then, Belgium. And then from Belgium, I went to Cyprus. And then from Cyprus, essentially, where I had most of my, what you call high school, my secondary school, I went to the UK to do my Bachelor of Science, which you mentioned, in biochemistry at Imperial College in London.
Right.
And that is where I kind of discovered that I might want to be a performer professionally.
Right.
I had dabbled in it as a child, you know, at school, you know, the school play, the school musical, actually. It started in musical theater. And then it developed while I was studying for biochemistry, actually. I joined the Imperial College Operatic Society and the Imperial College Dramatic Society, and then I created my own jazz dance society, and they gave me what they call colors because I was so involved in the student body. Wow. I produced, at the time, I think it was Cabaret, I was in Chicago, and I was in like a bunch of different, you know, college, university.
So that sounded like, Marlain, sounded like it might have been a big turning point for you.
It was.
Yeah, that might have been like the catalyst. Wow.
I mean, essentially, the catalyst was something called National Youth Music Theater, which is supported by Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yes.
I randomly went as a science student to this audition, which was literally practically all these kids aged 11 to 18 that were at stage school. But they have stage school in England where people are training for only theater. And I had never trained in my life, ever, anything, nothing, zero. Oh. And I went in there and I auditioned and I got in. And I was the only person that wasn't from a stage school. It was quite scary. And it was a whole new environment for me. And I actually got Imperial College to sponsor me for it. They loved it. They were like, oh, a science student that does the arts. And that was, I guess, the catalyst because it showed me that I could work professionally because everyone in there came from a professional standard. It wasn't just, you know, some amateur situation.
Right, exactly.
So that is what propelled me into pushing for doing a sort of training, and going further than that. Yeah.
Well, and it seemed like from there, things seemed to begin to propel for you on a number of different levels early on. We've got a wonderful clip of some of the kind of the early appearances in TV, and it shows this kind of wonderfully frenetic swath of your life. Lead us into what happened next.
Well, essentially, I finished from Imperial, having already done a sort of whole thing of national, having done Annie at the Edinburgh Drama Festival.
Yeah. Wow.
And I got into Royal Academy of Music. Actually, I had convinced the leading vocal coach for the West End called Mary Hammond. Was my mentor, I have to say.
Wow.
She took me and said to me, yes, you could become professional, even though I'd never trained. I'd never had a voice lesson in my life. And she said she actually put me on the waiting list for Royal Academy of Music, even though I had missed the audition deadlines. And I got in because someone dropped out. And it's one of the most difficult courses to get into in London for musical theatre.
Oh, yeah.
And that was another sort of tick on the box of I'm on my way to being a pro.
Right.
And then, from college, I also, at that point, decided that I would try out for the Eurovision Song Contest with some friends that I had known from Cyprus. And I got in, we won the local contest, and we represented Cyprus in Israel, in Jerusalem. Oh. And there, after that, after college, I graduated, and then I got into my first West End show called Lautrec. And,
yes.
That was a whole learning experience in itself, working 8 shows a week.
Right.
Being in sort of that very disciplined situation. I mean, my training was so rigorous. They taught us all this stuff in advance, so it wasn't that much of a shock when I got in.
Right.
But yeah, it was from there. It just went on to like more musical theater, more. I actually did a jazz tour as well, just
Incredible.
singing jazz. Yeah.
The genres are just outstanding. I mean, it's incredible. And were you ever saying to yourself, I'm going to go down this avenue and I'm going to stay there, or I'm going to go there? Was it always kind of trying to kind of feel all these different kind of genres and just absorb it all? It's fabulous.
Well, actually, this was due to my voice teacher. She when I was training, they very much encouraged me to stay as versatile as possible, because I had that ability vocally to just absorb a style and portray it accurately. And the only style I couldn't sort of develop to its fullest would have been full-on opera. And there was a moment in time where they said you have to choose between sort of modern style of vocal or to opera. I can still do light classical and sort of like a little bit of, legit singing.
But not another Maria Callas, right?
No, right, exactly. If I'd wanted to do something like that, I would have had to sort of change. I would have had to focus on that.
Right, absolutely.
But I had a natural inclination towards what they called sort of high belt technique rock music. And at the time, especially, it was not favored in sort of musical theater. They thought it was unhealthy,
right.
And not a good way to sing. And actually, my mentor, Mary Hammond, put me in front of this whole room of classical voice teachers and said, look, here's somebody who does it healthily. I think I wanted to die at that point because they were so judgmental. But
wow.
Yes, I sang, at the time I was singing sort of more rock musicals when it wasn't really fashionable.
Sure.
I was down that path at an early stage, I suppose.
Right. And you had a blitz of TV appearances and other contests and festivals. Was that all coming
Right.
out of this?
It mostly came out of the Eurovision Song Contest, because that's quite a big deal in Europe. I don't know how many billion people watch that thing. And actually, there's a film recently out about it by Will Ferrell out on Netflix, which you should watch if you haven't seen.
I'd love to see it.
Because it shows the craziness that exists for the world of Eurovision.
Oh, that's amazing.
And it led to a bunch of appearances, a bunch of, festivals. At the time, I really didn't know what I was doing. I was just singing this pop music, and I some musical theater.
I know. I think I saw a little Patsy Cline in one clip here too. There's
right, exactly
crazy, right?
What I was doing. Yes,
yeah. Let's take a little bit of a swath of this part of Marlain's life, which is she was watching it off in our pre-pro too and going, oh my gosh, I can't remember, that's so much going on back then. Let's take a little swath of Marlain in this part of her career. It is stunning. Go.
και το πρώτο βραβείο στην ερμηνεία
στη Marlain Angelides.
Καταπληκτική φωνή, πραγματικά.
Και νομίζω θα του άρεσα.
Με τον κύριο Πολυκάρπου μου έδωσε πάρα πολλά μαθήματα, ειδικά για αυτό που θέλω να κάνω.
Η Marlain Angelides τώρα πήρε τη σωστή απόφαση.
Εγώ μετά την νίκη, πώς αισθάνεσαι?
Κουρασμένη. Είμαστε στο Λονδίνο, στο Royal Academy of Music, στο στούντιο που κάνουμε πρόβες. Εχθές είχα στη διάσκεψη τύπου και ήρθαν πολλοί δημοσιογράφοι.
So I also have been a great
We want to represent our country as best we can. If that means we sing in Greek, that means we sing in Greek.
So that was grand. Hey, Jerry.
Oh, that boy, is that that is one big chunk of that part of your life, and you can see that Eurovision thing was a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly.
Anything stand out or jump out at you of what we just saw, where you're like, oh my gosh, or I remember that, or something?
Yeah, I mean, before I actually, you know, while I was still deciding whether I should do this, I landed a huge role in a new musical. It was in Cyprus, but it was a big deal, big production. That's what you saw in that huge white dress.
Right.
And I was starring opposite this like big UK musical theater / TV star, Peter Policarpo, and he was my leading man. And I was so scared and nervous because I would never done anything like this before at all. You know, I wasn't even officially trained at that time.
Right.
So that was a big thing. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, see the little reminiscences that happen here on Living on Music for you. You did hair.
Up until then, I had pretty much involved myself in pop and jazz and straight up musical theater. And this one is very clearly a rock musical. It has that passion and raw drive and a sort of freedom that other musicals do not have. And I learned a lot because I was trained in a musical theater discipline, which is very, very strict and disciplined.
Right.
But rock music is not. It's about freedom and expression. And so hair embodies that. And it was weird to kind of get out of my shell of like, oh, I can be a little bit more free.
Right.
So that was a turning point in that respect for me. It sort of led me down the path of wanting to be more of a musician and more of a sort of artist than a theater person.
Oh, interesting. And that was also coming up on this next phase of your life. I love this. We have these multiple phases and these fabulous chapters. This is spectacular. Yeah. It is just, I feel like I'm on a journey too. I really love it. We talked a little bit about earlier on about, before we did the show about this, you moved 3 times during an adult and you moved back to Greece to join what ended up being a platinum selling all-female band. Tell us a little bit about High Five.
So yeah, exactly. After I basically decided I wanted to become an artist, I made the decision that I wanted to try for something music-oriented only.
Right.
And I had heard about Pop Stars, which is the TV program that was the precursor to like American Idol, run by Fremantle. And I'd heard about it because I was in the UK, and my best friend was in the Pop Stars of the UK. She was actually at Royal Academy of Music with me, Marlain class. And the band was called Hearsay. And I saw the whole thing happen. And then I was like, well, they're doing it all around the world in all sorts of different countries. They might do it in Greece. And I told my dad to look out for it. And he did. And he told me they're having auditions. So I literally flew to Greece. And I auditioned, and I went through this ridiculous process that they put you through. Oh my God. And it's, you know, it was huge. I couldn't have imagined how big it was going to be for Greece. And we were the first all-female band to exist at that time. They named us High Five. And we exploded literally onto the scene with like #1 hits. To be fair, it was very manufactured, obviously.
Right.
They had a sort of formula they needed to follow,
Right.
dictated by Fremantle Media.
Did you feel that? Did you feel that as you went along, and did it make you feel a little bit, or was it just part of kind of another learning curve?
Well, both. I definitely felt it because I had come from a very trained sort of musical theater space where I had more choices for what
Sure.
I choose to do. And this was like, oh, you have to be here, you have to do this, you have to wear that, you have to.
Right.
And I still took it on very professionally. And the learning curve for me was actually being reintroduced to my home country at the same time as being a massive famous person whose
Right.
face was plastered all over the TV. And people in Greece have this very different, it's a very different culture. People approach you in a very different manner. And so being famous with this whole new cultural shock was a very big learning curve for me. Also, my Greek wasn't very good, which I had to improve very fast.
I bet.
And so, that whole experience lasted about 2 years. We went through so many different things. Massive shows and a lot of choreography and dancing, a lot of songs that I think are good pop songs. I would not say they're my favorite songs or would I have chosen them for myself, no.
Right.
But for what it was, it was a solid band. It was very well done and put together. They called us like the Greek Spice Girls. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was ginger.
Yeah, it sounds like it was molded.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, that's classic.
And so that made me learn about being famous, about what that means to me. It taught me how, honestly, I love my job. I don't love being famous to that degree. For something especially that wasn't my own choice of creativity, of creation. So I appreciate that time in my life a lot, and I regret not having had more fun with it, actually.
Right.
But for sure, it's something that I learned a lot from and made me grow to the next place that I'm at, which is wanting to do stuff that's more creative, more myself, more representative of who I am.
Right. And God, it seems like these experiences, one after the other, seem to be learning experiences that you've been able to kind of gather into yourself and move forward with that in your back pocket. It's really neat that's happened.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, everything I've experienced, to be fair, at a very young age was very intense at the same time. So I think the intensity kind of kicks your butt into like learning something. Right.
No, absolutely. And so you continued to do theater at that point in your life. In fact, you did, I believe it was Saturday Night Fever. And Greek. I mean, wow. And then there was another show, I believe, called Dementia that you did in that era. Talk a little bit about that period in your life of those shows and what that was doing for you.
So yeah, after High Five ended, I kind of was in a sort of soul searching again. Where do I go? So I went back a little bit to my roots of musical theater. I did Saturday Night Fever run, as you can see. I did a bunch of voiceover dubbing, which I know that you will show later.
Right.
And then I had my friend, here we go, that's Dementia. That's actually a musical that was written by a very good friend of mine. Sorry, that's Loki, by the way.
That's okay. That is they love that. That's virtual world.
He's very active. So yeah, I did the theater stuff, and I was backing vocalist and sort of support our act for these two major stars in Greece.
Yeah.
One of them was a rock star, one of them was a pop star. They was back to back. And that again put me in front of thousands and thousands of people, and learning how to perform when you're not the star.
Right.
Which was a very different experience. Again, as a performer, another learning curve.
Yes, absolutely. And you toured with them, right?
A lot, all around the world, actually.
All around the world. Yeah, that must have been an incredible thing too. But you're right. You're kind of changing roles a bit. Kind of, you're really getting a swath of what all these different levels of a creative career and life are. And what I love about your career, another phenomenal aspect of many here, is your voiceover work. And with Disney, you did Fox and the Hound. You did a number of other things, and you did Mulan, and we've got a clip, but talk about how that evolved. How did you get to that level? Because that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, so I honestly don't remember how I was introduced to the studio that does this, but I had to do voice tests, essentially audition for all the roles. So because I guess my background was in musical theater, in English specifically, and all the originals were in English, and they needed people who could sort of understand the nuances and what the sort of style was. And because I had that ability to change styles, I did a bunch of different ones for them. I had to voice match as much as possible. So yeah, Fox and the Hound, remarkably, I had to voice match Reba McEntire, which was amazing for me, because I was like, wow, I actually do sound like her. This is crazy. And then I had to voice match Lorena McKennitt for Tinkerbell. I had to voice match Mulan as well. I don't, as you know, that one, which you have. I did Oliver and Company. I also did, James and the Giant Peach, although I don't think that's Disney. There's some DreamWorks and Mattel stuff in there, some Barbie stuff.
Oh, wow.
And like some little characters, little monkeys, little weird shit, you know.
I love that. Let's take a quick look at Mulan, where Marlain is jumping into this amazing part of her career. And here's a little bit of Mulan.
Το σκοτάδι και το φως, ένα μόνο δεν αρκεί και τα δύο θέλεις, ήλιο και δροσιά βροχής. Μάθημα ζωής, θέλω κι εγώ σαν τα παιδιά, έξω να βγω σαν τα παιδιά, ναι, θέλω ζωή κανονική. Τόλμα! Βρήκα κάτι, ακούστε με, θα σας αρέσει πολύ. Θωράκι θα του στείλουμε με ένα γλυκό σημείωμα.
And I remember that little clip of Nightmare Before Christmas I really watched, because I love that movie. Got to me when I first saw it long ago. I mean, that is not easy, Marlain, to do, because I don't know, they're the nuances that you had to match and animation. It must have been an incredible experience.
Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite things to do voiceover and animation particularly. I mean, I'm capable of doing a degree of vocal characters, especially in singing. I'm developing my ability to do characters with spoken word. But yeah, it's certainly something that I would wish I could do over again. I wish I was back still doing it, actually.
Oh, that's spectacular. Well, who knows, with the way your things go, you might be doing it again someday. You ended up coming to the United States about 2013. What was the impetus to come to the U.S.? And then you had such a wonderful run with some wonderful shows, theater there as well, before things kicked in with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, as I had said, I was with a couple of artists. I had tried out to do I had started joining bands, trying to find my way through what is me as an artist. Right. I had joined, I don't know how many bands now. A couple were in the UK, and I would fly from Greece to the UK. And honestly, I had always wanted to come to America, and I ended my job with the last artist I was working with, and my band that the latest band that I believed in so much decided to break up, and it broke my heart. And I was like, well, I think it's time for me to move and go to try something new. I mean, there was nothing more I could do in Greece that would satisfy my creative curiosity. Right. I felt that my audience was not in Greece. I felt like my audience is somewhere else. That this kind of rock thing that's coming out of me, this metal thing, it's not for Greece. And so I came to the US with no idea what I was going to do at all, starting from the beginning. You know, where essentially all my credits didn't really mean anything here. So, you know, I was like, well, where do I go back to? What does New York do? They do theater. I've trained in musical theater. I remember sort of how to audition. I hadn't done it in a while, but I was like, you know, the audition circuit. Let me go back into it. And so, yeah, I fell into a couple of plays, some Shakespeare, as you mentioned. There we go, Titania, my favorite role. And awesome. I have to say, I love Shakespeare. It's my favorite form of theater. Right. And we did train in it at Royal Academy. And then, you know, I did a couple of, did I do musicals? Yes, I did some musicals. I did some plays. I found myself more attracted to plays. That's My Wife in a Chador that I did at Theatre for the New City, an original play at the time with, you know, a leading role in a very interesting role of a woman who decides who is Christian, who turns Muslim, actually. Wow. I found myself in this place where I wanted to try out new experimental things, new theater, and I've had a good run of it. But I was feeling a bug. I was like, you know, I like theater, but I don't know. I still prefer music a little bit. Right, and then 2016, who knew? I have talked to your bandmate Steph a number of times. Again, yeah. she was on the show here. How did that relationship begin, where you came into Lez Zeppelin, and what an incredible experience, and how wonderful a job you do. As a guy who saw that band when he was 16 at Madison Square Garden, wow. And has been a fan for 45 years, speaking of my age, I have loved them for so long. So it's a big leap to be able to see a band do it. And there are so many things that I love about Led Zeppelin, and of course the female element, where you guys are beautiful, and it's female, but it's more about music and expertise than that. And then there's the sensuality that comes in the back. It's an amazing thing. Tell me again, how did you meet up with them, and how did you begin this ride? Well, honestly, it was one of those, it just had to happen. It came out of the blue. It was like fate. I don't know, because I wasn't searching for it, because I didn't know it existed. And I am on this casting website called Backstage, and all of a sudden I get this message in my messages from Steph Payne saying, you know, might you be interested in something called, we're an all-female band called Led Zeppelin, you know, we do, you know, well, you know what Led Zeppelin does. And right. I couldn't believe it, because I was like, well, how did she find me? And I have since asked her about that, and she goes like, I don't know, I was just looking through pictures, and I just saw your picture, and I thought you looked right, and it was something about your energy. I was like, holy shit, how does that happen? How many people did you look through before you picked mine? And, you know, I auditioned for the band a couple of times, and, you know, it was one day to the next. Steph calls me up. She goes, I think I would love for you to join our band. Now, can you come to the studio tomorrow and learn Lemon Song and come? Oh, God. Yeah, it's been quite the ride since then. I did have to do a lot of homework. It was something that, even though I had, you know, covered Led Zeppelin, you know, the odd few songs before, I had never really gone into that much depth before. I was obviously a fan. It is one of my favorite bands of all time. But I hadn't ever really kind of studied it with the purview of like, oh, I'm going to be the singer. And actually, it felt really interesting, because over the years of performing this music, it's this weird channeling of this timeless music that brings out an energy in the band and in us, and then in the audience, respectively, that I can't really put my finger on what it is, but it's a remarkable band and a remarkable experience to be involved in. So I'm really happy about that, that I ended up in the band.
Yeah, it is. Again, I've known Steph for a number of years, and I first met her and went backstage and met all of the band before you joined. Then to see you come in, and I don't know, there was something in it. Now that I know you a little bit better via our discussion here and kind of our pre-meetings, I can kind of see why this made sense to you, because there is a thing with Robert Plant and Jimmy and those guys, and Robert certainly exuded a lot. I mean, you know, I told Steph before I was a heterosexual young boy in high school, but thought he was pretty unbelievably hot. And I
know,
you know,
right?
But he exudes so much in his music. Yet you bring a whole wonderful aspect to it. Let's take a little kind of stroll down Lez Zeppelin lane right now to just kind of get a little taste before we go into what this amazing band has been doing during the quarantine run. Let's take a little look right now at Lez Zeppelin.
Anyone out there?
Australia.
Please, with consideration from New York City, Lez Zeppelin.
Well, I'm telling you, I have loved that band for so many years. That's why it's such a thrill to have somebody like you at the helm and singing in that band. And what a neat bunch of ladies, Joan and Leanne and Steph. I mean, there must be a bond and a collaboration going with you guys at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we know each other's quirks and little isms, and I get very intimate with Steph on stage.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all the music kind of makes you do all these things. I have nothing to do with it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't believe that for a second, but you're very humble anyway. You had again, it's the whole point. And I think when I wrote the first article that I did with Steph, she really loved the tone of it, which is, yeah, it's neat having an all-female Zeppelin cover band, or a tribute band, but it goes way beyond that. It's the musical nature of everybody, Steph's abilities, yours, and then there's a sensuality that Zeppelin brought that you guys bring in a wonderfully different way with that music. So to me, it is just a wonderful match of all of you, and it really seems to be working well during the quarantine. And this time, you guys have managed to kind of finally get together and do some things, right? How has that evolved?
We had rehearsal because we were going to do the live show, but the way we got together is remotely. We did the whole quarantine thing, but it was really amazing when we finally got together and played. I was like, oh my God, this feels so good to do this again. Just to feel the energy in the room. It's so different than online. I mean, you know, human beings can't work without live music. I don't know how people expect that to happen. I hope that it, you know, stops very quickly, this quarantine business, because we have to get back to live music.
Well, I know, and even on my smaller level as a midlife cover band guy, I've lost 12 gigs, and I've missed probably 8 concerts. We were supposed to go see, obviously, Carlos Santana and the Grateful Dead last month, and they all got blown up. But this clip that we're going to show right now is really the quintessential Lez Zeppelin quarantine. I just love this. I love the ocean, but I love the way you guys pulled this off online. It sounds great. You all have such a thing going, and I love your little theatrical moments, Marlain. You can see that's why you're there, slipping in behind and doing some of these fun things. Here's a little bit of a little look at Led Zeppelin quarantuning with The Ocean.
The ocean is like a sea of water.
A great merman once said, moisture is the essence of wetness, and wetness is the essence of beauty.
Like a sea of water.
We've done boys already, and now we're Lizzie, and then they went. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That you guys captured it after all the kind of finagling you had to go through, I'm sure, to feel that virtual thing work. It really, I looked at you a lot, of course, and I looked at Steph and Joan and Leanne. You guys, did it feel good at least to do that?
I mean, listen, I started doing this editing thing, which made me have so much fun looking at them, because I directed the girls a little bit to give me footage that was, from their phones, out, in whatever limited, environment they themselves had. I was like, go up to the camera and put your glasses on and take your glasses off, and I was like telling them the shots, and I mean, I don't know what I was doing, but I was feeling like a director.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to ask you. You have developed, I mean, Marlain, it's another talent, for gosh sake. Now it's video producing. So that has evolved into this too. It's amazing.
Well, that would be because of quarantine, I have to say, because I've always enjoyed editing, even with my own music videos or other music videos, I would sit with editors always.
Sure,
so it's not unfamiliar to me, and I've always been like, oh, should have been a better cut or a different cut, you should have put that in. So now I actually could do it myself. I had to learn Final Cut, which was I was calling up my director friend. I was like, okay, how do I do this, and how do I get this little knife thing to move from there to there? And,
yes.
So it's been a learning curve. I learned more with each video that I did.
Right.
And The Ocean was the most experimental. So, yeah, it was definitely fun to do and very exciting in the realm of being in 4 different places and in quarantine. So
no,
yeah,
you captured it, and again, the essence was being sure that music kind of resounds through, and it did. So. That's always a challenge too right now, making sure musicians feel comfortable with the quality of the music that's going out virtually.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Boy, did you add, right? You guys worked hard on that too, I bet, right?
Right. I mean, we sent our tracks to a mixer. I mean, we didn't just, put them together ourselves. I mean, I'm not a sound engineer. But yes, we recorded. I mean, I have my own studio here at home anyway because of voiceover. So for me, it was relatively easy. Lisa went and recorded at somebody's house, at Rob's house. Steph, got her microphone and she got plugged in and she started doing it herself for the first time for this thing. So everybody learned their own little thing. Joan had already been doing it for a while, so she was up on her side of things for that. But yeah, it's been fun to do, and I hope we get to do some more. It is time consuming, I have to say. It's not something that you know, that whatever few minutes length that video is, it takes hours and hours and hours and hours to put together.
It sure does. Yes, as a 37-year television producer, I am totally with you on that. And when you mentioned Final Cut, I'm like, oh yeah, jumping into Final Cut is an experience in itself. It's funny, we had the week before this show airs, we had Cindy Blackman Santana on, who was Carlos Santana's wife, incredible drummer, lifelong drummer with Lenny Kravitz and everybody. And during the pandemic, she has done a lot of video producing herself. So everybody is finding those things that give them joy, that expand their creativity. Speaking of that, you have also jumped into something over the last couple of years with this prog experience called Ascending Dawn. Give us a little bit, let's put a little exclamation on this amazing Marlain Angelides conversation with Ascending Dawn.
Well, yeah, as I said, I was sort of in and out of Greece to England, and I met the other members of Ascending Dawn in the UK at the time, and we recorded in England, but then I released our first album when I was in New York already. So this is a prog style melodic metal project with now members all across the globe, because I think our bass player went and moved to Australia. And to be fair, I think the band is on hiatus at the moment, but because of this. But the music, they came to me with this incredible sound, which I'd never really heard before or performed over before. That had those sort of progressive elements and this sort of bed of sound and heaviness, which I felt tremendously attracted to. And I don't know how it happened, but in 3 weeks I wrote all of the vocal parts and all the songs and all the melodies and all the lyrics and all the harmonies and everything. I don't know how I did that.
Oh
but,
my God.
I wrote all of that over this incredible music that the band had created. And the sound became this sort of meshing of the vocal with the music in this sort of ambient vibe. So we usually include the word ambient in the project too, because it has that strange feeling in it. So yeah, that was yet another style that I've been involved in. That vocally it fits more of a pop sort of feel. But it drives. It's much more driving and powerful and long and like elongated. So yeah, I think I was very proud of that. Project.
It is some really strong stuff. I've played a bunch of it since we've been prepping to talk today. Let's take let's take a little bit of a look at a swath of Ascending Dawn. This is called Simplify. if that isn't a way to put an exclamation point on a fabulous conversation with you, I don't know what is. Boy, that is some special stuff. Did have you felt what is next for Marlain Angelides? I want to know what other things you're going to do. Opera, you kind of said I'm going to put over here. Maybe opera isn't what I'm going to do now. How fulfilled do you feel right now? You should feel really, really like something special. I mean it.
Well, thank you. Honestly, that's actually sort of what I'm doing with my EP. Again, is something quite different. I don't know how it's decided to come out this way. It's dramatically different from anything, from Ascending Dawn, from Led Zeppelin, from High Five, from all of it. It's living in the electronic realm, a realm that I haven't lived in at all, really. It's vocally more about nuance and feel and tonality in this sort of sensitive way. It's not sort of projected and powerful. There are moments, don't get me wrong, but the body of it isn't there like that. So and basically it has attitude. The whole thing has a point of view, an attitude, a little bit of a fuck you, I have to say.
You may.
Yeah, but but in a sort of general way, I am taking a sort of viewpoint that I think a lot of people will agree on. I don't know, I'm not sure. It is introspective as well.
Right.
But the difference is I guess it's much more personal than anything I've done before.
Right.
It's stuff that I've written pretty much alone with, and now sort of David Laurie is embellishing with his whole beautiful talent. But it's very personal, very vulnerable, very kind of scary to put out there. So that is the new thing. That's what's ended up happening after all of this, I guess.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, and it's funny, we started our conversation with the EP, and we've come to the conclusion with the EP, and it's all the stuff in between that people, I hope, will take a really nice kind of grasp of, is just that if you want to do things in your life, you go out and find the ways to do them. And you've done that through this amazing career. You've experienced this, that, and now you're doing this, and it is wonderful. I want to let people know that if they want to continue to support Marlain with her new solo EP, which again is due out probably beginning of next year, I think is what you were saying, Marlain, sometime spring. It'll be out there.
Yeah, sometime next year.
It'll be out there. We're going to put up on a lot of posts for this and everything, but it is, and again, you should get a pen right now. Here, I'll give you a second. All right, get a pen and write down igg.me/at/Marlain P. You'll see it on screen. You'll see it on the posts we do. It's a way to continue to support this incredible artist who is, again, taking another chapter of her career and taking another wonderful trip down another road. And I just love it. Marlain, what a great treat to get to know you a little bit here and to talk. I mean, when we first connected, it was because I had shot videos of Lez Zeppelin on my phone. And you were like, I need some videos, man. And I'm like, who knew? I'm back watching the band like anybody, just like a fan. And what a great show that was. And I can't wait to see you guys again. But congratulations on this just exceptional career that you've had so far. And the EP is gonna be a really, really neat thing for you. And can't wait to hear that and everything else after this is all crazy and you guys get back out on the road.
Yeah, thank you so much, Steve. It's been a pleasure to be here and go down memory lane. I haven't actually done that. This is the first time. So thank you for including all of my background in it. It's been very fun for me to reminisce.
That is wonderful, and I know that it's a lot. I mean, when we first met and we're talking online and we're talking about doing this, I started getting into it, and I'm like, I hope I can take people down this road in a manner that they will see and hear how great it is, because you've gone down the roads and you're going to continue to do it. Love you, Marlain. Thanks so much. And
thank you so much.
Hope to see you again soon. And again, can't be happier to have talked to you. Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Sure. Absolutely. And what I often do is I mute myself when I come out of these things. And David says, you don't have to do that. And he's right. It is an amazing experience to come out of that and be able to take that kind of career and give it everybody a kind of a general feel of what that was like. It's a long ride. And I know Marlain and I kind of giggled about it when we were done, and how incredibly deep we kind of went back into her career. But, you know, that's what we need to do for people right now. It feels like this is what we need to do. We need to be able to give people a chance to kind of remember the beauty of their careers, remember what was very special about what they did, and also what's coming. And there is so much coming from that young lady, between Lez Zeppelin and also her solo career, and gosh knows, I mean, she'll be voiceovering other things, I'm sure. So thank you, Marlain Angelides, so much for the time you spent with me. I hope we do this again, and I hope we get to get out and rock out to Lez Zeppelin and all the other things you're doing. Let me give a quick, brief swath of what we're going to be doing on Living on Music for the next couple of weeks. We've got an amazing guest this Monday. It is Soul Roots, and Soul and his revered band. Gosh, these guys, again, I was playing at JV's once, as my duo with Jess Robinson, and I believe that Soul followed us, and I was like, wow, oh my God, we got to actually play in front of him. He is something else. He plays, there's a New Orleans funk vibe to him. There's raw blues, energetic rock. This is one incredibly special musician and has been around this area for a while and has played with some of the biggies in blues and in rock and roll. And we're going to have a heck of a night on Monday, a week from tonight, to talk to Soul Roots. On October 19th, we're putting together a show with the Birchmere, okay? We're going to talk to Gary Olsey, and we're going to talk to Michael Jaworek, and we're going to talk to the guys who have built this place into one of the most respected and revered venues in the United States. It was started in 1966 by Gary. We're going to be talking about how it developed, why this became the venue that it did, what artists helped this place grow like it has become. So please join us. We've got some special things we're trying to work out, and we hope to figure those out in the next week or so, and we're going to be telling you about them. But come and talk, and let's have a chat with the Birchmere on the 19th. On the 26th, it is the incredible Bobby Thompson. This guy has a brand new self-titled album out right now. He is a guy who has become a premier blues rock songwriter, has started his career in kind of a blues folk world and continued that evolution, but really one of the most special guys. Had my buddy Tommy Lepson on his newest record, so that's always great. Tommy was a guest recently and is one of the kind of institutions of music around here. But we're going to have Bobby Thompson on the 26th, and on November 2nd, I could not be happier. I mean, we could trivialize this a little bit by me saying that the amazing Jack Black did this movie about School of Rock, which was so wonderful and so funny and so nuanced and great. But we're going to the real School of Rock. We're going to talk to Steve McKay, who is the head of the School of Rock of Alexandria, and we're going to talk about his evolution into getting to the point where he could open a School of Rock in Alexandria and how it has evolved, and also how it is, you know, again, been hit pretty hard by the pandemic right now in terms of student enrollment and how they're doing virtual instruction. But we're going to have some great time with Steve McKay on November 2nd. So that is the next 4 weeks of Living on Music. Coming up on ZTV this week, wow. Tomorrow night at 7, Reading, Writing, and Ralph. Put this down right now. Remember, every night at 7 is of the week, Monday through Thursday, is ZTV live. Ralph's going to welcome Martha Carucci. Really intense stuff. She's a local author with her second book. She has a blog called Sobrieties. It's her journey recovering from alcoholism, and it is something that might really come in handy to a lot of people, just to learn about how to kind of triumph over stuff that's bringing you down, as well as alcoholism. So tune in tomorrow night at 7 to have Ralph Peluso with Martha Carucci. On Wednesday at 7, Suzanne Fleischman, our wonderful anchor and live shooter everywhere and reporter, will have Jane Collins. Hey, who knew? Our sometimes ZTV host, but she's also executive director of HERD. And HERD is a nonprofit organization based right here that improves the competence, the capacity, the capability of justice professionals to manage language issues as they affect deaf and hard of hearing people. And we've got, of course, got Gallaudet right here in town. It's a big deal around here and around the world to be able to appeal and give to people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And she is the executive director of HEARD. Thursday at 7, it's the Virginia Amos Show. And please remember that Lucella Flaherty, Susan, David McClure, a lot of our amazing people at ZTV are all over town. And if you haven't checked out ZTV enough, put it as a bookmark right now and keep checking it in all day. Put it on a background, have a little screen, picture in picture, and find ZTV all the time. Again, tonight, Living on Music is a production of Zebra Press. The executive producer, my man, my chief, David McClure. The Zebra Press publisher is the great Mary Wadland, and happy birthday to Mary this week. I think it's Wednesday, but I know they were celebrating some of it today downtown. And Mary, God, you're amazing, and happy birthday to you. You can visit the Zebra at zebra.org and also on our Zebra Good Press, Good News Zebra Press Facebook page. And also the October 2020 edition of the Zebra is out, and it's in wonderful newspaper form. And again, I love newspapers every morning, so you can get it in newspaper forms all over town in the red boxes and the 400 bulk drop locations around town, but also you can get it at zebra.org. And I looked at it today. I was dancing myself because there's a wonderful article on Living on Music, and it shows our October schedule. So yay, Zebra. But go find the Zebra, and it is something special for everybody in this area to check out. Once again, I want to thank my incredible guest, Marlain Angelides, for joining me on Living on Music. Marlain, best of luck. You will continue to excel and soar in this business. Next Monday is Soul Roots on Monday night at 7. For David McClure, Mary Wadland, the rest of the Zebra, if you have 5 minutes, if you have 1 hour, if you have any time, remember, it is so important to be the good news in someone's life. Take care, all.